It's part 4 of our series on the original Little River Band. Interviews with Graeham Goble, Birtles, and Glenn Shorrock. In this part, we talk about those great LRB harmonies. I'm John Beaudin from Rocky Street Music. Were the harmonizing vocals a mainstay, like an idea for this band?
Yeah, definitely. When we first sang with each other back in London in 1974, we sang It's a Long Way There, Graeham Goble's composition, which became track 1, side 1 on the first album and became our first entry into the charts as well.
What was your first impression with Glenn when you met him?
How can I say this? It wasn't like meeting Paul McCartney or, somebody of there. I'm focused on in my own internal world, and we're looking for a singer. So as far as I was concerned, it's about his voice, you see, because I didn't know him. And so when we got together, and I think Glenn mentioned this, that we had a sing on It's a Long Way There, which we used to do in Mississippi, Beeb and I. And as soon as we added his voice underneath Beeb and myself, it was immediately obvious that it was one of the great vocal blends of all time.
The three of us who were the main singers in the band all came from harmony-driven bands. Zoot was a harmony band. Graeham had always been played in harmony groups in his hometown of Adelaide, and as did Glenn Shorrock. So it was only natural that when we got together that we would be a harmony-driven band anyway.
Immediately I heard that blend that was so strong and gave me great confidence, because I've been knocking on the door in England for quite a while and going nowhere. And
there's maybe been 10. I'm talking, the Hollies, ABBA, Fleetwood Mac, the
Eagles,
Eagles,
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Yeah, the Beach Boys. There's 10 of them. There not too many more. And because I've always been a harmony guy, and I've always felt. And I compared, as with my songwriting, which I always compared to Cole Porter. He was my yardstick from even the age of 14. And it wasn't until I wrote Reminiscing that I thought, well, okay, I think I've got there with a Cole Porter-ish sort of level of songwriting. Took 15 years. But the same with vocals. The bands I were in, going through Adelaide, they were really good. You can hear the starts in Mississippi and those sorts of things, and my Adelaide bands, but it wasn't until Glenn came that I thought, well, now we're absolutely as good vocally as any band I've ever heard.
I think Graeham explains it very well as far as our particular sound is concerned. He thinks that we sound a little bit more like the Hollies as opposed to the Eagles because we sing harder. When the three of us first got together in London, when Mississippi was falling apart, and we put our voices together, it was something magic that we heard in the room. And as it worked out, the structure of the harmony is such that, Glenn, in his natural voice, I was able to sing the next harmony part above Glenn, but still in my full voice. And then Graeham sang on top of me in his strong falsetto voice. So that was kind of our harmony structure for pretty much all of the songs that we did.
This was something that we hadn't experienced before. Singing, well, there's nothing better than singing with three guys with an acoustic guitar in a lounge room. That's as good as it gets. It's better than any feeling you'll ever have on a stadium, but just acoustically listening to three voices, it's heaven, really. And so we knew we had that. But what I didn't had no way of knowing is that when we're in England, then we decide, okay, we're going to go back to Australia, early 75, put this band together. Well, that was a great idea, and we did put it together, but then the personalities come in, you see. And so Glenn was very experienced. He'd done 10 albums. I had done one, and yet I'm pretty much calling the shots and saying what we're doing is not good enough. We've got to do this again. We've got to try this way. And he had not experienced the level of detail that I was trying to aspire to. So it created a big rub between us because...
But let me dumb it down for a second. Is it because, he'd had success, and is it because he hadn't heard no a lot?
Yes, because he had been in groups with friends, particularly his first band, the Twilights, they were very close, and they all hung out together. They do stuff together. I'm not that sort of guy. I don't hang out. Glenn and I don't hang out. We never have hung out. I'm about the music and the business, and like even all of the years in LRB, we do a gig, I go back to my home, to my hotel room, and I'm working on my songwriting. The rest of the band goes
after a show?
Every night, because
wow.
that's when I felt most inspired, with the audience and the adrenaline and everything. I would get a separate car, go straight back to the hotel room if we weren't going overnight on a bus, whereas everyone else would be wanting to wind down and maybe have a few drinks. I'd never drank. I've never had alcohol in my life, or a cigarette, no drugs, nothing of any of that in my whole life.
Wow.
So to me, it was just music, my guitar, and me in my room writing songs, whereas everyone else, which I think is normal, I'm not saying I'm normal, they would be wanting to socialise. They would want to go to the bar, have a few drinks, meet people, maybe look for girls, I don't know. I never once ever did that.
I was much more like Graeham. I unlike Glenn, Graeham and I stayed very productive on the road.
Yeah.
So that when we went back to our motel rooms, we always had an acoustic guitar with us. And while you're watching late night TV or something, you'd be, piddling around on your guitar and maybe coming across a song idea. And so Graeham and I were always writing songs toward the next album that we were going to record. So I was, sometimes, if I didn't want to go to my motel room, I'd go down and join the guys in the bar for a drink. But more than often, I went to my motel room and, did what I just told you.
I go back, go through the gig in my mind and write down, well, on that particular song, I think we can, that maybe we can move that chorus, or we can do something a bit better. So then we have, the next day we have a sound check before the next night, and I've got a little list of things that we need to get better, a bit tighter on that ending, or can we run that a bit more? So and that pissed Glenn off incredibly, because he hated all that, and I have no problem with that, because that's who he is. Because his spontaneity was the selling point of the band. We couldn't have done it without him. That's why we needed him as a lead singer. I couldn't play his role, but vice versa. I think that my insistence on what I was trying to do ended up with making a record like Reminiscing, which we recorded 3 times, I might say. So this is the thing, that Glenn basically has no patience. I've got endless patience. I will take 12 months to record a kick drum if I need to.
There's a resurgence for those old songs. A resurgence for wanting to have Graeham Goble, B. Birtles, and Glenn Shorrock on the same stage at the same time. I want to thank the guys for talking to us. Make sure you comment on our videos, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. I'm John Beaudin from Rocky Street Music. Take care of yourself.